Breaking news in the defamation trial of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. A jury in Virginia has reached a verdict. The three-time Academy Award nominee sued his ex-wife for $50 million, claiming she defamed him in a Washington Post article. Heard countersued, saying it was Depp and his lawyer who defamed her. Natalie Brand has the latest from the courthouse, where jurors awarded $15 million to Johnny Depp and $2 million to Amber Heard.
After listening to weeks of shocking testimony, a mixed verdict as a Virginia jury has sided with both actor Johnny Depp and his ex-wife Amber Heard in his defamation lawsuit and her counter lawsuit.
I've never struck Miss Heard. I've never struck a woman in my life.
The Pirates of the Caribbean star sued his ex-wife for defamation, citing a 2018 Washington Post op-ed in which Heard referred to herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. Depp was not named in the article, but claimed it destroyed his reputation and his career. On the stand, Heard maintained her accusations of abuse.
He's punching me with a closed fist, punching me.
She countersued for $100 million after Depp's former attorney called her allegations a hoax.
I have the right to tell my story. I have the right to say what happened to me. I have the right to my voice and my name.
But Depp claimed he was the one who was abused.
Miss Heard, in her frustration and in her rage and her anger, she would strike out.
The high-profile civil suit was followed closely by fans on both sides in person and on social media. Natalie Brand, CBS News.
The trial was held in Virginia, where the Washington Post's computer servers are located. New at 4, a 33-year-old Moorhead man is facing multiple charges after police discovered hundreds of fentanyl pills, $20,000 in cash, and a handgun yesterday. Police found more than 500 pills that they believe to be fentanyl when a drug search warrant was conducted on Bellesley Boulevard in Moorhead, worth about $15,000. Police say an infant was in the residence at the time of that search. Maurice Bell is being charged with felony first-degree possession of a controlled substance and gross misdemeanor child endangerment charges. The investigation is ongoing and further arrests are expected. New information on that EF2 tornado that struck the Elbow Lake area on Memorial Day. The National Weather Service now says the tornado was on the ground for 11 miles and was 400 yards wide. Winds up to 115 miles per hour were recorded. The tornado touched down in Grant County at 4:15 on Monday and ended at roughly 4:24 in Elbow Lake. Many reports have come in of downed power poles and uprooted trees, destroyed steel grain bins, dismembered buildings, missing roofs. Summer joins us now. Summer, they've classified it as EF2. Can you tell us exactly what does that mean?
Yeah, an EF2 is essentially winds between 111 miles per hour and 135 miles per hour, causing significant damage. So the National Weather Service in Grand Forks went out and did their surveys, and they estimate the peak winds from this Elbow Lake tornado were around 115 miles per hour. So that's within that range of an EF2 tornado. 11 miles, that is considered a long tracking tornado. As we were forecasting, we were expecting at least 1 or 2 long tracking tornadoes, and they continue to do their surveys through today and through the next couple of days because there was extensive damage reports from across Lakes Country. So here's Grant County, where that EF2 tornado was reported. And zooming in a little closer here, you can see that track between Wendell and Elbow Lake, that path of 11 miles stretching right through Lakes Country, where people were out trying to enjoy their holiday weekend. Right now, and for the last couple of days, things have been a lot quieter. Just seeing a few fair weather cumulus clouds out here. 71 degrees right now in Fargo, 72 in Grand Forks. It's been a mild Wednesday. 67 in Jamestown, Bemidji, and Devil's Lake. 66 right now in Fergus Falls, and we have a mix of sunshine and clouds across the region. Stacy, coming up in your hour-by-hour forecast, we have a bit of a windier Thursday to go over, but we'll look ahead to a quieter weekend as well.
All right, thanks, Summer. President Biden appealing for more COVID funding from Congress, including another COVID relief package. Most Republicans and some moderate Democrats are skeptical of more pandemic spending. North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer says he has a hard time believing there's not enough money and not enough flexibility already. Congress is in recess right now, but will reconvene next week. Officials say the U.S. is falling behind other countries that are already preparing for the projected spike in cases this fall and winter, which puts puts this proposed relief package on the clock. Meanwhile, renewed efforts continue to find common ground in Congress on federal gun control legislation and gun violence prevention in the wake of recent mass shootings in Texas and New York. Skylar Henry has the latest from the White House.
High school students in New York staged a walkout against gun violence amid an ongoing effort to strengthen federal gun laws on Capitol Hill.
This is a test of democracy.
Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy convened a small group of colleagues from both sides of the aisle Tuesday to discuss background checks, red flag laws, safe gun storage, and school security.
I can't guarantee you that there will be a compromise, but I think we will know one way or the other by next week.
Their proposals would still face a tough road in the Senate, where Republican leaders do not agree guns are to blame.
It seems to me there are two broad categories that underscore the problem: mental illness and school safety.
President Biden says it's time for Congress to act to address the country's epidemic of gun violence, but is also looking at actions he could take on his own.
This president has done more executive actions at this point than any other president, but it's not up to him alone. He cannot do this alone.
The House Judiciary Committee is expected to meet Thursday to consider a gun legislation package which would, among other things, raise the age for purchasing a semi-automatic centerfire rifle from 18 to 21 years old. While the Protecting Our Kids Act would likely pass the Democratic-led House, it's unlikely to get the 60 votes needed in the evenly divided Senate. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Yesterday, New York State Democrats announced they'll soon join 5 other states to ban the sale of semi-automatic rifles to people under 21. Today, North Dakota Senators John Hoeven and Kevin Cramer added their names to a list of 47 strong senators that have pledged to uphold all pro-life legislation, as well as the Hyde Amendment, which blocks taxpayer money from going to abortion services. These signatures accompanied a short letter that was sent to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. The signing senators expressed their unwavering support to keep federal dollars far away from abortion in the 2023 fiscal year. The FBI has thwarted a planned cyber attack on a children's hospital in Boston. That's according to the FBI director. He says it was meant to have been carried out by hackers sponsored by the Iranian government. Because of the intelligence shared with the FBI, they say the hospital was able to block what they're saying would have been one of the most despicable cyber attacks they've ever seen. The FBI director noted that Iran and other countries have been hiring cyber mercenaries to conduct attacks on their behalf, and Americans are vulnerable targets as they put their professional and personal information online.
Malicious cyber actors are going to continue to take advantage of people and networks, and that includes cyber criminals holding data for ransom, and nation states like China stealing defense and industrial secrets. And lately, that's included Russia trying to influence what happens in the ground war they started over in Ukraine by threatening attacks against the West in cyberspace.
The FBI says they can impose a cost on cyber criminals by focusing on 3 things: their people, their infrastructure, and their money, and make the biggest impact when all 3 are disrupted together. Turning to Ukraine, after days of aerial and ground attacks, Russia is closer to capturing one of the largest cities that's still under Ukrainian control. The U.S. has now agreed to send high-tech rockets to Ukraine as they take efforts to slow the Russian advantage. Russian troops are trying to push out the last Ukrainian forces from the city. At least 1,500 people have been killed. Up to 15,000 remain trapped with few safe places to shelter, and that fuels soldiers will keep fighting.
What I know is that unless we really put an end to this war, Russia will only continue and continue.
In a guest essay published in the New York Times, President Biden said Russia's invasion of Ukraine will only end through diplomacy, but that the U.S. must provide weapons and give Ukraine as much leverage at the negotiating table as possible. As the nation's baby formula shortage continues, President Biden hosted a virtual roundtable discussion today with formula manufacturers. He says they're making significant progress trying to increase production through the Defense Production Act.
There's nothing more stressful than feeling you can't get what your child needs, or he or she needs. That's why I've directed my administration to use every tool available to increase the supply, get more formula on shelves as quickly as possible.
That audio is a little modulated there. We apologize. A third Operation Fly formula mission will bring more baby formula to the U.S. United Airlines has agreed to transport that formula for free. When Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd in 2020, it wasn't the first time that he was accused of excessive force. 2 lawsuits were filed Tuesday alleging excessive force back in 2017. Both involved Chauvin pinning his knee to the plaintiff's neck, just like he did with Floyd. Those 2 plaintiffs call Chauvin a serial predator and are now speaking out about their encounters with him. Esme Murphy reports.
John Pope was just 14 when Derek Chauvin, responding to a domestic call in 2017, pinned his knee to Pope's neck and beat him with a flashlight. Pope was hospitalized.
You look at a police department to protect you, but they do the complete opposite.
In December of last year, Chauvin pled guilty in federal court to depriving Pope of his civil rights. Zoya Code was stunned when she saw video of George Floyd's death.
It was the same officer. This can't be happening.
Attorneys showed stills from Code's 2017 encounter with Chauvin. Like George Floyd, she was handcuffed. Like George Floyd, Derek Chauvin ground his knee into her neck. Code and Pope are also suing officers at the scene who did not intervene. Both incidents were captured on police body cameras, which the city of Minneapolis has not released. Code and Pope's attorney is predicting big payouts in both cases. And then there's this.
Which, if he had to be terminated in 2017, when these 2 people ran afoul of him, I guess George would be alive and the city would not have burned.
Those lawsuits also named 7 other officers and the city of Minneapolis. In a statement, the city called both suits disturbing. It added that city officials plan to move forward with negotiations with Code and Pope and hope to reach a settlement. This after Minneapolis paid Floyd's family a record $27 million in a wrongful death settlement. Chauvin is behind bars, serving a sentence of more than 20 years for Floyd's murder.